I'm ready when you are. Hey everybody, I'm Josh, the chef and chief delivery guy for Orso Pasta here in Los Angeles. Today, I'm working with our friends at Flamingo Estate to make a really super easy, simple summer garden pasta. Okay, let's get started. What we've got is some fennel sausage. This is a vegan sausage made primarily of fennel and some peppers and other things. We've got some zucchini squash and some heirloom tomatoes. All of these are things that are gonna be super prevalent in your markets, your farmers markets, your gardens, and things that are really just supposed to be happening right now here when it's 90 degrees out. And then we've got some shallots, garlic, and a little bit of lemon for acidity, and some white wine as well. First, we're gonna just roughly chop all the vegetables that we're working with. There's no right or wrong way to do this. I like to do them in little half moons, or you can just as easily do them in little sticks. Anything that's gonna just mix in well. I think that pasta lends itself really well to chaos visually, so I like to have a lot of different shapes, sizes, colors. There's anything that's kind of gonna look pretty when it's all jumbled up together. For tomatoes, honestly, I didn't actually know how to core tomatoes or that you were supposed to until I became a chef, so I'm gonna pass that knowledge on to you now. If you just go in and remove that little middle section, and I'm kind of doing that just, in a scoop almost. You're gonna get to this part here, and you can see and feel it's a little tougher. Doesn't really squish down or anything. And for pasta, we don't need that. We want things that are gonna really melt and turn into a sauce. So for this, we're not necessarily trying to make a tomato sauce. We're just kind of trying to highlight some of the awesome colors and produce and flavors of it all. So we won't crush it or squeeze it or anything like that. We'll just kind of chop it into little abnormal pieces. So keeping in that same theme, we've got another heirloom tomato. This one is a little darker. Flavor-wise, they're gonna be similar. Just pop that core out. But for color and visually, it's just a lot prettier to have a little bit of red, a little bit of this dark purpley almost color as well, with all of your yellow and brightness. So, boom. Next, classic garlic, tomato, fennel, all of these things go super well together. No right or wrong answer here. I really like garlic, so we're gonna go with 3 cloves, but you could easily do 1 or 2, or you could even omit it altogether. So, this is an old trick. This is probably not even cool anymore, but basically, the best way that I know to get rid of a garlic peel is to take your knife, place it just like that, and so that will just pop it right off. Most chefs will have you slice the garlic up and keep it super pretty, which is actually something that I like to do as well. But when I'm cooking at home, it's just so much easier just to smash it and chop it up and kind of get it into one big mess, which is really in keeping with this whole dish anyway. So the next thing that we're gonna add is shallot. For me, anything that involves pasta sauce needs to have some sort of onion, shallot element, because it's going to be the foundation that your whole sauce stands up on. I'm doing a traditional, classic French onion dice. Basically what that translates to is I cut it sideways, I cut it long ways, and then I cut it this way. Or an easier way to remember is sheets, sticks, cubes. So we just did the sheets. Now I'm going to go long ways, we'll do our sticks, and now we're going to turn it again and do cubes. When you do it like that, you get this nice tiny little squares of onion. Yours don't have to be that small. If you can do it, more power to you. What I like about getting them as small as I can is that it encourages them to melt. Fennel sausage, super easy. For this one, we're not even gonna chop it. Once you take it out of its casing, it'll just crumble really simply like that. If you're doing a big amount, you can also pulse these in like a food processor or just, rough chop them up with a knife. Anything to get like large, irregular kind of shapes. The most important thing for any of the recipes that you're gonna find here is not to stress out about them. They're all suggestions, guidelines. They're essentially what's working for me right now here, but they're mostly like philosophies and, if yours don't look just like this, that's fine, basically. So, last thing we're gonna do is take a little squeeze of lemon. We may not even use them all, but for me, it really brightens up everything, and the whole point of a summery dish is for things that are gonna feel like summer, and are gonna feel refreshing and bright, but also substantial and just kind of, bountiful. And lemon's really, really good for that. So, what we're gonna do here is chop the ends off. And a fun fact about lemons, all of the seeds are in the middle. So if we just take our nicely top and tailed lemon here, and we just cut a triangle, so 1, 2, and 3. We left all the seeds in here, and now we've got perfect little wedges that we can squeeze in to season our dish if we want. We've got everything we need now. Let's get cooking. We're gonna be making a classic reduction sauce. White wine reduction sauce is gonna usually have around a ratio of fat, in this case olive oil, to white wine of about 1:1. If you're measuring, it'll be, quarter cup, third of a cup. In this case, it'll be a lot of splashes to a lot of splashes. So summer's a tricky season because it's full of contrast and it's a little bit of a diva. Because the two things that we love are these super smoky, charry, barbecue flavors, for example. But we also love these really vegetal, big, fruity flavors. They're not very delicate. It's not tiny little spring peas. It's big, ripe tomatoes. And yet at the same time, it's still dinner, so we want it to be balanced and light. And it's 90 degrees out, so we don't want it to be heavy. There's a lot that summer asks of us, but also it's a lot of fun when you get it, when you get it all down. So when we are going after that charred, smoky, grilled flavor, and we don't want to be outside in 100-degree heat, or we're making pasta for dinner, the way we're going to get around that is by heating our oil, getting it super, super, super hot, and we're going to throw in our fennel sausage first and make sure that it really kind of gets that caramelization that we're looking for, maybe even a couple black spots, brown spots, and then we'll follow suit with some of the other vegetables and go for that same really like caramelized sensation. So you'll know your oil's hot when it is loose. Oil that is cold is viscous and slow. Oil that's hot kind of shimmers and moves a little bit like water. The other way you can check is just putting your hand over it. You're getting pretty hot. You can spread it all out so it all has room to brown and it's not stacked up on top of itself. And anything else that we're trying to get some color on at this point, we'll throw in as well. So the zucchini can go in. What we're looking for is to see if things are starting to get a little brown. And as soon as we see that, we can add our tomatoes next. And that sizzling, if you hear that, that's okay. Don't be worried by that. That's just the water in your vegetables leaching out and evaporating as soon as it hits your hot oil, which is basically all a reduction sauce is. It's a mixture of water and oil that have been reduced out to a certain level so that it tastes really good. So if you hear this, you see this, and you're like, whoa, there's a lot happening in my pan. that means you're on the right track. So, we've achieved everything we want in life from this. We've got our sausage is starting to get that nice little dark brown. The vegetables have sweated down. The onions have started to melt. That means that we can add the wine. When you add wine or water or anything to a reduction sauce, that's going to be the part where you stop getting color on things. That's where things are going to stop frying basically, and they're going to start stewing and turning into a sauce. So we wouldn't want to add this until everything in the pan looked the way that we kind of want it to. And it does. So keeping our 1-to-1 ratio, I added a couple glugs of olive oil. We'll add a couple glugs of wine now too. And we'll turn the heat down on this. We're gonna let it do its thing and reduce so we can shift our attention over to the pasta. So, for pasta, I recommend we go with fresh pasta always. Dry pasta is fine, there's nothing wrong with it. But today we're gonna go with fresh pasta from Orso, using our tagliatelle. And the main difference between fresh pasta and dried pasta is that fresh pasta never really had a chance to dehydrate. That exact kind of moment of when the eggs and flour and everything came together, that's preserved. So what that means for us as far as cooking goes is it's going to be really, really quick. We don't need to wait 9 or 10 minutes for the pasta to rehydrate and then start cooking. It's already good to go. So, we dropped it in our water, which is salted like the ocean. What I like to do, this is just an old habit I picked up from when I used to work at the pasta station at busy Italian restaurant, is you just want to always keep your water moving if you can. There's nothing wrong with walking away. We can, you can go check your phone, or you can go over to the pasta, to the other pan or whatever. But in a general sense, it's nice to keep some agitation in here so that none of the noodles are spending too much time in close contact. There's always room for water to kind of flow in between them so that they can cook evenly. While we're waiting for that to happen, we can check on how everything is tasting here. Like I said before, recipes are awesome blueprints. They're really, really good guidelines. But at the end of the day, everyone's palate, profile, taste difference is different. So you've got to just be constantly checking and tasting, and feel free to add more of anything. You want to add more wine? That's totally fine. More salt, whatever. But this is pretty good as it is. And the main thing we're looking for here in a white wine reduction is to make sure that all of the alcohol is cooked out. And the best way to check for that is to smell it. Alcohol's got a really specific smell. And if you lean over your pan and you get a big whiff of that alcohol evaporating right out, you'll know. You'll know, you'll take a step back, and you'll know it's time to wait a little bit. So, again, because we're using fresh pasta, we know that it's not going to take very long at all. It's probably already done. So we're going to take one out. The best way, again, is to try it. Perfect. There are a lot of ways you can do this at this point. You can pour it out into a colander. You can use tongs. You can use a strainer, a slotted spoon, whatever. But the next step is going to be to transfer your pasta to your sauce. Personally, what I like about doing it this way instead of using a colander is that we'll be able to add a little bit of that pasta water if we need to bring all the sauce together. So we've got everything mixed. And what's going to happen here is the starch from the pasta and the pasta water is going to mix with all of the oil and the wine and everything that we've got going on there, and it's going to bring it together like a cohesive sauce. Because as you know, oil and water, they don't naturally go together. That is why you have to shake a bottle of vinaigrette. But when you add something starchy, like pasta water, they will go together. The starch will act as like a glue almost. So mix it up once it gets to kind of that place that you want it to. More of our really good olive oil too. What's great about adding things like lemon and olive oil off heat, things that are more delicate, is that it keeps the flavors intact. Something like olive oil, when you put it in with the fire on, you lose a lot of the nuance. Okay, boom, there we go. So, super easy. Everything we're looking for with summer. Smoky,